legends and super legends. Elder here. Welcome to Veloharmony. Today I wanted to continue in the series of recovery, the overtraining videos that I had put out recently. I wanted to go ahead and close the loop on that topic because later on, as the weather is getting better now, we're going to start focusing on working on speed and some hard rides in between your normal base training. So I wanted to talk about a topic that is easily ignored by most, and that regards what really makes us tired. As athletes or cyclists, it doesn't matter really what sport you're doing. It's not just the work that you do on the bike that stresses you. There are other life factors, like for example, if you're pulling down a lot of hours at work, that's a stress. If you have the people at work, the coworkers are a challenge to deal with, or your boss is a jerk, all of those things stress you. If you have an interpersonal relationship issues, whatever's going on within your personal life stresses you as well. So you need to recognize that and drop the intensity when you're doing these 60-hour weeks, or you got a big project at work and you're just spending a lot of hours at work. All of that plays a factor. So during those periods of time, you want to back off on the seriously hard rides. You want to do the Zone 1 and the Zone 2 rides because it helps you deal with those stresses. And then you don't want to feel like you have to push yourself that hard during those periods of time. Now, sometimes it doesn't quite work with your plan. We plan and then life happens. If you have a big ride coming up and you wanted to set a personal best and all of that, you've got to recognize that depending on what else is going on in your life, you may not be able to train as you had planned because you may be tired. Those stresses at work, they wear you out. So you can't do a 12-hour day, then come home and do 2 to 3 hours hard, even if you have the time or on your trainer or whatever. That's just too much for that day. So what you may want to do is, if you're fortunate enough during that period of time, maybe there will be a day during that week where it's not as intense at work, then maybe that's the day you do your long rides or your hard rides. And the days where you're pulling a lot of hours or you got a lot of stuff going on, you got tons of errands to run, maybe you don't ride that day, or if you do ride, you ride easily. It's important that you don't ignore these other stresses. It's easily ignored. Most athletes do that. Then they can't figure out why their performance drops off or why you can't hit those power numbers or the heart rate numbers. All of that plays a factor, because if you're pulling down a 12-hour shift or whatever you're doing, and let's say you get home and you got to run to the grocery store or do all of that, there are times when you do all that stuff and you just can't wind down to get the rest you need. So if you're not resting enough and you got stresses, your body's tired. So you got to recognize that and know that, okay, I need to either take a day off or I need to ride easily. And in fact, I think riding easily is best because it gets you out of this sitting around thing we're in. Our current society, we weren't made. I don't know any of you guys that saw the movie Office Space. I stumbled upon it. It's an older movie now. I don't know what year they made it. But I stumbled upon it one day just flipping around the channels. And it's one of those things I consider to be a sleeper. I just kept watching and watching, and it got more and more interesting. But basically, the theme of the movie was these guys had a crappy job. There was no prospects for a good future at the company. And it's just a matter of they had a boss who was a pain in the butt, and he would just, drive them nuts. But what basically the paraphrase is, one of the characters in there said that we weren't meant to sit in cubicles. And that resonated with me. The human body is a machine, okay? If you buy a fancy sports car and you just park it in the driveway, it will rot, literally. They're meant to be driven. Your body is a machine. It's meant to be used. It's not meant to be sitting in a car for 2 to 3 hours a day, then sitting in a cubicle or an office for 10 hours a day. That's too much. There's 24 hours in the day. I don't know who set up these systems to where you're giving so many hours to work versus yourself every day. I used to do that. I played the rat race. I'm out of it. Okay, because It's more important. If today is your last day on earth, you have to ask yourself, if this was my last day on earth, what would I do? I can tell you what I do. I think you can guess. I'll be riding my bike. I will ride my bike. I will spend time with my girls. I will hang out with my wife. I will hang out with my friends that I hang out with. And that's what I try to do frequently. Even if we can't hook up, I get on the phone with my buddy, we talk. Okay? That's important. I think we need to revisit that, because the reason I'm bringing that up is if you break it up to where, well, maybe, I don't need a third car or a second car. Get that one car if it means you work less and you have more time for you, so that you can have 1 or 2 days off during the week versus just waiting for the weekend, or have frequent long weekends. Use your vacation time, or however you do. I used to do that a lot. I would use my vacation time on a Friday and my vacation time on a Monday periodically, and it ended up that 4-day block made it feel like you were gone for a week from work. And that way I could ride and do whatever. It just made it seem like you had more time. It's something you need to look at, because you got to reevaluate what's important. I mean, if the rat race is important right now, then you're just going to have to balance it as best as you can. But what you need to look at is you can't have it all. You cannot work 12 hours a day, and if it takes you an hour one way to get there, in our city here in Houston, everything is 35 to 45 minutes away. So it doesn't matter. You're going to be driving, so an hour and a half. It eats into your day, so I'm at the point where I do 3 to 4 days serious working days, and I have 3 to 4 days usually for me. I balance it off. I had to give up the money, but I'm a lot happier. I control my time more. So it's a sacrifice you have to make. It's a choice you have to make. But don't think that you can do it all. You can't. The body needs rest. Your mind needs rest. So if you're driving down at the office and you got a big project, if it's just for a period of time, then make sure during that period of time you're not planning to do a big ride. Maybe that period of time could be your base training time, to where you work a lot of hours at work and you do your steady rides, or 1 hour on the trainer during the week. Then the weekends you do your long ride. And then you try to plan it to where when work is not so intense, you start ramping up your intensity to get ready. You're going to have to do that, because you can't have work very stressful, then the bike very stressful. You will break your body down. And that will lead you to a state of overtraining, get to the point where you don't even want to get on your bike. And that people get burned out at work too. You get burned out at play if you do it that way. So I just wanted to go through that. Feel free to leave your comments and questions below. The reason why I wanted to take this angle is it's often overlooked that the other stresses in our life can lead to an overtraining state if you combine them with more stresses. So getting tired is not only workouts. It's not just going to the gym or running or riding the bike. It's in addition to the normal life stresses. And one of my clients and buddy, I told him, I said, when we were discussing, he was training, and he's one of our legends, Paul Ilonga. He would come to the ride and then he just wasn't fresh. And so I asked him, I said, what do you do on Friday? Well, it turned out he was doing a lot of errands, family related stuff. And then I suggested to him, I said, well, you know what? Since Friday is your day off, why don't you do your errands the days that you drive to the office? On the way home, do your errands on those days. And then so that you have Friday to where you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You're just at home. Even if you don't ride, you just have that day to rest. And he's been making those changes, and we've seen a marked improvement in his riding. He's resting more. Because at first he was anxious to get into the training, but what he wasn't doing was taking into account all the errands he was running, all the family related stuff that was popping up. All of that was wearing him down. So even though he had the day off on Friday, he'd come to the ride on Saturday tired, because all day Friday he'd been running around. So keep that in mind. I just wanted to throw that in as an example. Feel free to share your experiences, but do not ignore that running errands, work, family, all of that stresses you. So pick the days when you run your errands, and that should be your easy or off days. That's when you run your errands. I run my errands on Monday and stuff like that. By Thursday, I don't have any errands to run, okay? And I wind it down. Friday is my lightest day. And usually I would ride maybe 30 to 45 minutes thereabouts to an hour, if that. No more than an hour and a half. But it would just be easy turning the gears. I think I mentioned it in other videos. It's important that you look at everything. The whole picture stresses your body and is regularly ignored. So I felt the need to make this video. So no matter what, get out there, get your miles in. Don't let anything stop you.